So this one's a little different than what I usually do, but I've mostly covered all the movies I wanted to for Christmas Quickies, so instead let's look at a more nostalgic one that's just been stuck in my craw for a while. The Cartoon Network classic Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer, based on the hit song by Elmo Shropshire, who actually appears in this film, which is nice. Although his ex-wife Patsy, who also performed the song, as well as Randy Brooks, the guy who actually wrote the song, are notably absent. I guess the idea is a lot of classic Christmas specials are based on novelty songs, Frosty and Rudolph being the two obvious ones. But Rudolph and Frosty are cute and charming and have been around since TV became a regular part of the American household. They were holiday staples right from the get-go. Grandma had a long way to go, and boy did they ever not. In fact, on the subject of the song, this special has to deviate quite a bit to fit into a children's movie. Like, in the original, they say Grandpa's okay with Grandma's death.
Now we're all so proud of Grandpa. He's been taking this so well. See him in there watching football, drinking beer and playing cards with Cousin Mel.
Yeah, I can't have that in a kid's film. I also like their interpretation of the line, "She'd been drinking too much eggnog," as her being lactose intolerant. My point is, this is a pretty dark song to adapt into a kid's movie. Hell, from what I've heard, it was originally a grim parody of sad Christmas songs where you find out someone's dead at the end. And something interesting I found while researching this is that all the songs are off Dr. Elmo's album, Dr. Elmo's Twisted Christmas from 1992, 8 years before this film. And that hurts the movie in two ways. The first is that most of the songs end up feeling forced. In fact, after I found out they weren't written for the movie, I went, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, actually. Like, some of these segues are comically lazy.
All you have to do is sign.
Sing?
No, sign.
Sure.
So sign.
I'd rather sing.
Good stuff. The other problem is, you can kinda tell Elmo wasn't the one who wrote Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer. Like, say what you will about that song, I know a lot of people hate it, but it is both far funnier and far catchier than any of these other songs. Moving into the actual movie, the story is all over the place. The film begins, obviously, with Grandma getting run over by a reindeer, but the body is never found and her grandson Jake becomes convinced that she's still alive and living with Santa. Greedy Cousin Mel wants to sell Grandma's store to wealthy businessman Austin Bucks, but Jake goes to the North Pole and finds Grandma, leading to an extended courtroom drama where they try to sue Santa for damages. What is this, B-movie? It's like they used every cliche without actually understanding any of them. Like, typically wealthy businessmen who want to buy out the small family store are cruel, manipulative villains because, you know, wealthy business owners are cruel, manipulative villains. But despite giving him a name as subtle as Austin Bucks, he ends up being pretty nice, all things considered. He gives Jake till Christmas to find Grandma, even though he's well within his rights to buy her store. Cousin Mel is really the only villain of the film. And just everything about this movie is so weird. There's these cops that are a Fargo parody? Like any kid's gonna get a Fargo reference. And you know adults ain't watching this. This is what you put on to distract the kids while you go wrap gifts. And I've said before how much I hate when Christmas movies have characters who don't believe in Santa in a universe where Santa demonstrably exists. But this movie goes a step further by having them reference the real St. Nicholas. What the fuck is the canon of this universe? How do Santa Claus and St. Nicholas exist? Is Santa St. Nick? And we can't forget the glorious twist that Cousin Mel spiked Grandma's fruitcake with reindeer nip to make Santa's reindeer attack her, despite apparently not believing in Santa. But if you're like me, you probably remember two things about this movie. Two very big things. Why did they give Cousin Mel such a huge fucking rack? This special is uncomfortably horny. Now, I admit I watched this during a formative age, so perhaps it's me who's uncomfortably horny, but the family's name is Spankenheimer. I really don't think I'm reading too deep here. Nearly every adult female in this film is drawn very, very shapely, especially Cousin Mel. The impression this film has left me with after so many years is that it's Rule 34 fodder. And that's really not the impression your Christmas movie should give me. Honestly, despite having some nostalgia for it and generally being astounded by all the weird stuff, I find this movie pretty hard to watch. I almost hate to say it because the phrase has become so overused, but this movie is cringy. It makes me uncomfortable and embarrassed to be watching, but that does sometimes draw me back to it. I totally understand anyone who enjoys watching this movie. It is fascinating, if nothing else. Until next year, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and may your stockings be full of lewd Cousin Mel art.